Welcome to the Elevate Podcast, a resource designed to take your ministry to the next level. Whether you're a seasoned leader or just starting out, this podcast will equip you with practical tools, real conversations, and a fresh insight to strengthen your church's impact. I'm Keith Holloway, your host for today's episode. We're diving into the critical topic of missions partnerships, how churches can identify, build, and sustain relationships with ministry partners both locally and globally. Joining me today are David Hanna, campus and teaching pastor of the church at Lockeland Springs, and Danielle Schneider, a global worker serving with Living Hope and King of Kings in Cape Town, South Africa for 16 years. All right, well, guys, let's jump in. I think it's so cool that all three of us have served internationally. And so I would love to start by just hearing a little bit of your story. And so, David, would you mind jumping in, tell us how you got to the field and how you got back to Brentwood Baptist?
Yeah, my name is David Hanna. I'm the campus and teaching pastor at the church at Lockeland Springs in East Nashville, one of the campuses of Brentwood Baptist Church. Nashville native, spent almost my entire life here in Nashville, but there was a brief 9-year period where my wife and I were on the mission field in Bologna, Italy. We were sent out by Brentwood after, 7-8 years. Mike Glenn, who was the senior pastor at Brentwood at the time, got in touch with us and asked us to start praying about a little merger church plant, new work there in East Nashville. And through those prayers and probably a full year of conversations with Brentwood, we really felt the Lord guiding us back this direction to help that new work in East.
Wow. So you came off the field knowing that you were going to be the campus and teaching pastor.
We came off the field specifically for that role, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Danielle, what led you to the field?
So I kind of like David, I'm a Nashville native pretty much. I mean, we moved to Nashville when I was in the 6th grade, so been here quite a while.
It counts.
And it totally counts. I think more of my life, well, not now, but most before moving to South Africa. So, Brentwood started doing mission journeys, and I went on the first mission journey to Cape Town, South Africa in 2004. Then 4 years later, which David and I laugh, we actually were commissioned on the same day,
which is amazing.
In May 2008, when
cool.
he and Nicole went onto the field and I went onto the field. So that's a very special bond we have. And so, I've been serving in Cape Town for 16 years at Living Hope, which is a nonprofit that Brentwood is partnered with, as well as for the last almost 9 years, being the children's minister at King of Kings Baptist Church, which also has a partnership with Brentwood Baptist.
So cool. So one of the topics that we want to talk about today is that partnership. And I think it's so cool to hear the long-standing partnership that Brentwood has had with King of Kings and Living Hope. But then, David, you and I were talking just last week about almost this new and developing partnership with one of our global worker couples, Kelly and Janice Seeley, in Germany. And when we were talking about it, you were just casting the vision on how you want to identify that one place that is the DNA of where Lockeland does missions.
Yeah, so Lockeland is a smaller congregation, a couple hundred faithful, incredible folks, and I'm the guy that every idea is a great idea, and every missionary, every ministry is one that I would just love to support and serve. And what ends up happening in situations like mine is we tend to do a lot of things well-ish. And what we really have a heart for now, what we've been learning, is the efficacy of finding the one thing. So when you talk about partnerships, I mean, that word partnership, that's really what we're striving for, trying to find the one ministry that we can truly serve. There's a need there that we can meet. There's a cultural fit to where our people that go and serve, and the things that they learn, the things that they bring back, they can come and teach us, and it's incredibly applicable to where we are. And that way we as a congregation can have that kind of singular hyper focus on the one global partner that we all serve as a whole.
Yeah, I love it. We were talking as well. You were sharing that, last year we, as a church, we read through the Bible, and like that's how your church knew, like this is a focus. This is what we're all doing. And I love the aspect or the thought of the entire church, the entire congregation. When you think of global missions at Lockeland, you think of this partnership.
Right.
And I was talking with Kelly and Janice about it, and they just got excited to think about that partnership and what it could look like year after year, and the relationships that could be built out of that partnership. And they specifically were asking you guys to come and help with a kids camp for second generation folks that have moved to Germany. And so folks that are new to Germany, don't know a lot of people, don't have a lot of network, and just thinking through the partnership that this could be life-changing, not only for our folks that are going and serving, but the people that are new to Germany, just networking, and for us to have a small part of that, to be able to network them with a local church in Germany, but then also for them to be able to see that the global church is so much bigger. I think it's so cool.
Well, and the beauty of that from our perspective is it is a need we can meet, but really when you project that long term, the effect it has on our congregation, I'm sure Danielle has seen that 16, 17 years now.
It'll be 17 in May. So
wow.
Yeah.
And seeing congregations, groups, the same people over and over, year after year, and the relationships that grow through that consistency long term is incredible. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What are some of those benefits that you've seen?
It is a wonderful thing when you see, having been there so long, and not even, through the Brentwood family of all of our different campuses where there have been people who have visited. It's one of those that it's just so special when you breathe life into your people who are on the field, on top of serving the people of that city and that country. The fact that you're breathing life into the missionaries that are on the field as well, so they can continue to the work. And it's one of those things, can people on the ground do those things? They can, but there's something different about when people come in and do those things. And having seen years of that happen at Living Hope, and also where Brentwood has helped and done things with King of Kings and our staff there's just something about the encouragement that comes when fellow believers come alongside local, on the ground, nationals. It breathes life.
I think it's so cool. When I was there visiting several months ago, we were trying to come up with the number of how many Brentwood folks have served at Living Hope over the years. Do you have any idea what that rough number is?
So as global workers, I know that it's over 20. There was a season where we had quite a lot of Brentwood Baptist people serving at Living Hope. And it was great. There was this wonderful thing in the season of time where they were there, but it's also this beautiful season of time to see through the work of what they did with Brentwood and Brentwood campuses, that now nationals are being able to do some of those things while still having, there's still 3 of us global worker units that are still in Cape Town and serving at Living Hope, but also to see that through starting and having global workers there, that other departments and ministries were able to come out of them coming first, and then seeing, hey, the need is really there. Let's add that into our budget. Let's make sure that we can do that from a nonprofit side. Overseas, that's huge for something like that to happen.
Yeah. I think of, Cultivate, how it started there. It's still going. The agricultural program is still going. There's still the greenhouses, and so much food is being grown there and being shared with the community. But Cultivate, it was started from Brentwood Baptist in South Africa, but now it's come back, and now Cultivate is, growing on the back 16 acres back there. I just think it's so cool. It's kind of come full circle.
For someone who wasn't a farmer.
Yeah,
exactly.
Who was not a farmer.
And thinking through like how many short-term teams we've sent and how many volunteers, we have sent hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of short-term volunteers to get plugged in and help further that ministry. It truly is amazing to see the impact that Brentwood Baptist has been able to have. The Lord was definitely working and would have done the work with or without us, but that Brentwood could have partnered with them in such a way for that ministry to flourish. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. I think the thing about mission journeys and partnering with a missionary on the ground where you begin to develop this relationship is when you develop that relationship, they can say, this is what we need. So like with you guys in Germany, they're saying, we need to do this kids camp.
Right.
Of course, that excited me. I was like, kids camp. Oh,
let's go.
Let's go now. Because that's one of the things. It's not that your local people can't do things like that, but there's something about when they come, but also that there's this partnership that bonds people in this beautiful way that no matter what, and a lot of times with missions or missionaries, sometimes it's easier to do like kid work. Of course, I'm a huge fan of that being children's minister, but it's just one of those things that brings people together. And then there's this bond when people share. That's the thing I think that's so special about what Living Hope has had with all of these years is that you've had all these people who come and there's a bond just getting on that plane and going halfway across the world on a plane and serving alongside of each other, that it just is this beautiful thing. And so for me, I'm excited for what Lockeland Springs is going to do let's zone in on one, do it very well. Not saying that Brentwood doesn't do it well, different size campuses, different things like that, but it's just amazing to have the resources to be able, whether it's one or whether it's more, to do something like that and be that intentional.
Well, and the clarity that comes from having that one singular focus, the ability to say, our church does this. What does your church do with global missions? We do this thing and we do it really well. Yeah. We've done it X number of years in a row. We've sent this many people. When you're in the halls of our church building, people have that common bond because they've been, a family member's been, somebody they know has been, they've supported something. So everybody has kind of the singular focus, the singular push, and that common bond of clarity with that's the thing we do.
They're bought in.
Yep.
Right, exactly.
What do you think are some of the key aspects for churches identifying these partners?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's something that I have seen from both sides, both as a missionary on the field and now as a pastor. I think the first thing is determining if there's actually a need.
Yes.
There are times we as churches, sometimes it comes from a very pure place of just wanting to serve. Sometimes, frankly, it comes from a place of just wanting to check a box. But oftentimes, the actual needs on the ground are the last consideration. This is the time we want to send a group. This is we want to send a bunch of kids during the summer, or we've got some high school students that want to go on spring break. And so, Danielle, we're coming.
What task do you have?
I hope you have something for us when we get there. So step one is determining an actual tangible need, and then starting to determine, is this something that our congregation can actually serve? Is this a need we can meet on some level? Because we're not equipped for every single need. But there are some things that you say, wow, that's a need, and I think we can do that really well. So step one is communication with the missionaries on the field to see if there's a need.
Danielle, kind of from the other side of it, a church reaches out. What are some key things that you need them to know before coming down? Obviously, there's so much that you don't want the church just to come in and take over. But what are some of those key things that you think a church should be asking? What are those questions a church should be asking? Maybe that's a better way to ask it.
I think most definitely, and David hit it spot on in what he said. And from the other side as well, I would also say we are blessed in the Brentwood campuses to be able to have global workers in a lot of different places and partnering with a global worker. Maybe some churches that are watching this podcast, they don't have a connection with a global worker. I would say to make sure definitely whether it's a nonprofit that is what we say. Do we say NPOs, NGOs? I don't know because I'm
nonprofit. Yeah.
Okay, because I know it's different here and there. So whether it's a nonprofit or whether it's a church, wherever that it's run by nationals. So on the ground people, not if you're an American and you are going that it's connection of just American to American, because you don't always see things. Saying that as an American that's serving, but also knowing specifically like at Living Hope, some of those things I think that every church needs to be aware of is to be extremely flexible and know that America time does not exist outside of America. I think that's something in regards to when those ministries respond back just to an inquiry email might not be in America timeline. So I think that's a definite just going in with inquiring. It's not that they're rude, any of those things. Now, again, David knows Europe. I know South Africa and African culture more, just like you do. It's knowing that a little bit more of, it may take time before an email comes back. But also, again, I think it's that for churches need to understand to go in wide open. And I also think it's very wise, and having seen Living Hope do this and making friends with people in a lot of different places and churches in the U.S., is they send a scouting team first. So you send like 2 people from your church to literally on the ground go and see what it was like. I remember before we went on the first trip in 2004, there was a small team that went from Brentwood, and then being able to come back and really put it in the context of, no, guys, this is what it looks like, versus because other cultures, they may not know a lot about American culture. And being an American living abroad, culture is different. And not that one's right and one's wrong, but just being able to be open to things don't happen the same way in any of those places. So I would say if churches go in wide open like that, and I know it costs money to send people to scout that, and if they can't do that, that there's a lot of conversation. But I think it's going in, how can we serve? What do you need versus here's what we can do. But what do you need? And then from that, I also think something that I think with one of the reasons why the Living Hope Partnership and King of Kings has been such a bond with Brentwood is because there has been a consistency of usually one person who has been before, who is leading the team. So that brings that relational, and outside of the U.S., relational, and maybe it is big in the U.S. now with me not being here all the time, but that's a big thing in other cultures is that relationship. So if you, even in setting up, we're going to start going on a mission trip, that you have whoever's leading it and someone else who you know, hey, we're making sure this person's going to be the one down the line who will do that.
Well, and Brentwood does an incredible job of that, of building up and empowering leaders. You know, you're on this trip now so that you can lead this trip next year. And it does so much from both sides in the preparation for the trip, having somebody as you're training, as you're preparing, as you're on the plane, saying, hey, this is what we're going to see when we get there. This is the person we're going to meet. This is what the accommodations look like. When they say we're going to do this ministry, what they mean is this. Just having those people, it is amazing how much smoother that makes it, but also more effective each individual trip is, because you're not spending the first 2 or 3 days just getting the lay of the land. You've got someone coming that has already been there before.
And I think specifically looking at Living Hope, the partnership as a whole is not just short-term teams. Over the years, it has been so much more. It's been leadership equipping. There has been some financial aspects, but it's sending long-term folks and short-term folks. It's more than just a one-aspect relationship or a transactional relationship. And I think that's what we'll have in Germany as well, with the Seeleys being there on the ground. I see you guys pouring into them as a couple, as a unit, and not just doing this student camp, but really pouring into their ministry as a whole and starting that relational equity, building that relationship with the Seeleys and the other folks on the ground. I do think that is something that Brentwood Baptist does really well.
Sure.
What are some of the key aspects that you hope that your church members will take away from international partnerships?
Oh gosh, and that is at the foundation of that question, which I love, is the understanding that this truly is a two-way partnership. So often we as churches think, wow, you're on the field, you're the one in need, we're the ones that can help. So we're here just to help you, and then we're going to go back home. So at the foundation of the question is this understanding of this two-way partnership of we're going to go and we're going to serve, and you are going to teach us so many things, and our church is going to be better because of what we learned from you. So step one is, as you are building these global partnerships, it's recognizing that two-way street. We're not just here to serve, we're here to learn. It's entering into it with curiosity and humility. I remember when Nick and I first went to the fields, just the way timing worked out, within 36 hours, we were going to our first missions conference.
Oh, my word.
I know, right? So we're jet lagged. We knew as much Italian as you do right now at the time. And not only was it a missions conference, it was 100% in Italian.
Ooh.
So we go and we sit down and we don't know a word of the language and we don't know what we're supposed to do. And the speaker gets up and opens with prayer in Italian. I had no idea what he was praying, but there was this overwhelming, profound truth that I knew a global God, and I had never really understood what that meant before.
Yeah.
Like, I would have said that on an academic level, obviously. We serve the God of the universe. And by the God of the universe, I mean this, little southern, God that went to church in churches that looked just like mine and sat in pews that looked just like mine and sang just 7 verses of Just As I Am at the end of and then that first time of encountering a God that truly spoke different languages, a God that truly existed in different cultures, a God that was so much bigger than what I thought was my varied upbringing. What I realized was definitely not a varied upbringing. So step one of people coming back is recognizing the vast majesty of the God that we serve.
Yeah.
And I don't care where you go. I don't care who your global partner is. That is a profound reality that I hope we can all bring back from that moment.
Absolutely.
I think, can I chime in on this one?
Please.
With going on, with partnering and doing mission journeys, I've heard over the years people say, as churches, why do we need to do mission journeys? And I know for me, I'm only in South Africa because of that mission journey that I went on. So to me, there's such huge, you never know what the Lord is going to do with a mission trip. And I like to, when teams come to Cape Town, and sometimes I can be very raw and honest, but it's more because at the end of the day, they'll get on a plane in a week, and the staff that I work with are there. This is their daily life of things to say. But one of the things I'm always saying to them is, you think you're coming and you're going to pour into us, which please pour into our staff and encourage them. But at the end of the day, the Lord has you here for a reason and is working in your life in ways that we might not know what that is. But the fact that it's not just about coming, the Lord has you do, and whether it's you come back and you change how you do things, whether the Lord calls you onto the mission field, all of those, Lord, please don't send me to Africa things of stuff, which I never said because I never even wanted to go to Africa. So
you didn't know enough to even say that. I didn't
know enough to even say, God, don't send me to Africa. I did say that about Asia on a mission trip. Lord, please don't send me to Asia. And he didn't. He said, but I think in that, it's that the opening of when churches go of that, it's being totally open to because they're on that trip for a reason, and no one knows except the Lord of when he will reveal it. But to me, that's where mission journeys are so important. And I love to say, being that Nashville native too, like just getting out of your box, getting out of and I'm advocate on kids going, teenagers, so that they, and I know you guys are there with me on that, but just that getting out to see that the world just doesn't look like fill in the blank, whatever city you live in, that there's more out there, and we serve, I can't imagine how that moment was, but it's the same in being in South Africa, and you hear, whether it's Xhosa language or Afrikaans or other, that it's just like, God's hearing them just like he's hearing me. And that's just, that you can't experience somewhere else.
Getting out of your normal routine, your normal schedule, and being open to the Holy Spirit. our global partnerships, our global journeys. Like, that is a key time where if you're open and willing, the Lord will reveal himself. And if we can go and be a force multiplier for the ministry, the work that's being done in a country that's not the U.S. or maybe somewhere else in the U.S., but if we can go with a posture that our hearts are open to experience the Holy Spirit in a new and a powerful way, like, he will show up and we will have those moments. And those partnerships around the world are invaluable, just so that we can get out of our own bubble, out of our own head, our own space, to experience the Lord. It's powerful.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So good. So good. So, Danielle, how are some ways that that people can learn more about Living Hope and King of Kings?
So Living Hope has a website, livinghope.co.za. I almost said Z because we say Z in South Africa. So livinghope.co.za. And you can go on that website and see. Right now we have 59, I could be wrong, between 59 to 62 different programs. I could not list half of what they are. But we do basically every type of ministry you can think of. We're always looking for church partners. The only thing we don't do is prison ministry, and we don't work in the anti-human trafficking realm. But pretty much any other ministry that you can think of, Living Hope is doing something in that realm. And from the King of Kings side, we have a website as well. King of Kings, oh my word, I believe it's .co.za. You can Google King of Kings Baptist Church in Cape Town, which is your what you think of a Baptist church. And so very proud to be a part of that church as well and serving there. The beautiful thing that I'm blessed to be able to do is be at Living Hope, and also for the last 9 years serving at King of Kings, which is the church that started Living Hope. So my two bosses are intertwined, and all of those different parts of it. Again, a local church that started a nonprofit and works closely serving in there, and people from the church serve in different parts and volunteer for different things. So those are ways that you can hear about both King of Kings as well as Living Hope. And again, check it out. There's also ways people can donate and just be praying for the ministry. It's I'm very proud of being able to be there for that long. They've been around for, in 2025, we'll celebrate 25 years.
That's awesome.
Which is unheard of in a lot of nonprofits. But the Lord definitely, and so many different churches that are of so many different sizes, because the beautiful thing is when you find a way that your church can plug in, when they say, these are our needs of what we have, and then a church can say, okay, maybe, we can help with that, or we can help with this, or we can send a team or whatever. But I think the biggest thing is praying for other ministries that are happening around the world. I think that's also a way that a church could be involved as well. So there's some thoughts on that.
Excellent. David, how could folks find more about the Church at Lockeland Springs or the upcoming journeys to Germany?
Oh, gosh. Well, the Church of Lockeland Springs, I'm sure we have a website.
It's with the Brentwood
Right,
Baptist and all the different
Google
campuses.
the Church of Lockeland Springs and you'll find it. There's a silent E in there. Relative to the upcoming journeys through your team, the Brentwood Baptist team, as well as on our website, you can find all of the information that you need on that. We're really excited about getting to spend some time with the Seeleys this summer on this side of the ocean as we prepare to go see them here in a few months on their side of the ocean. One encouragement I would love to give specifically to pastors that might be watching this: go.
Yes. Yes.
It is amazing how easy it is for missions and global missions to become siloed when the pastors don't have any experience there. That's the missions department. That's what they do. And that's when it gets relegated to giving moments, to videos, to social media posts, just something cool that our church does on the side, a fun trip. when the pastors go and spend time and recognize this is what we do, this is our act of service, it changes everything.
Absolutely.
It speaks volumes as someone serving when, you know, when pastors from Brentwood came, it just was a whole different level of things. When they come, when I've seen other churches and their pastor, one of their pastors is on the trip, I like, it's the game changer.
It is.
Because they're seeing it too, and they get a fire lit in them for their people, for their congregation, for their sheep, to also go and serve, whatever that looks like. It may not be to go on that mission trip, but the idea of serving somewhere, doing something outside the walls of the church.
Yeah. Pastors and leadership going makes a huge difference. I mean, it's twofold. The workers on the ground feel loved and supported.
Yes.
The fact that leadership would give up time and resources to come, but then also to motivate the church and walk the walk.
Yeah.
It truly is amazing. So that's a great point. Thanks for throwing that out there. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining.
Keith,
Thanks
you're awesome.
for doing this, Keith. This has been awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you for tuning in to today's conversation. If you're a church leader looking for more practical tools and strategies, check out Elevate Church Conference, a one-day event on September 9th designed to equip your entire ministry team. Register now for just $79 a person. You can register at elevatechurchconference.com.